California is a state on the west coast of the United States, bordering the state of Oregon, Nevada and Arizona, and California also shares a 5,500 kilometer long border to the Pacific Ocean. With a total area of a whopping 424,000 square kilometers, California is the third largest US state after Alaska and Texas, and more than 10 times as large as Switzerland, or about the same size as Germany and Austria combined. California is famous for its large cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco or San Diego, for its sunny and warm Mediterranean climate, for the Silicon Valley, for its diversity in nature, for being one of the most democratic states in the USA, and California is also famous for its earthquakes and wildfires. But as we will find out soon, California has much more than that to offer. Moreover, California is known as the Golden State, or by some as the most beautiful state of the USA. California's largest cities are Los Angeles with about 4 million inhabitants and anywhere between 15 and 20 million in its metropolitan area, followed by San Diego, San Jose, San Francisco and Fresno. The capital of California, however, is Sacramento. In total, California is home to over 39.3 million people, which makes California the most populous state of the USA and would be the world's 37th largest country if it was an independent nation. As an independent country, it would have a higher population than Canada or Poland. 58% of the Californian population speaks English, 28.8% Spanish and 13% other languages. The bear flag is the official flag of California and shows a grizzly bear called Monarch. Monarch probably was the last living Californian grizzly bear, as today the Californian grizzly bear is extinct. When Monarch was shown to the public for the first time in 1889 in San Francisco, about 20,000 visitors came to see the Californian grizzly bear. Monarch was also held in San Francisco's Golden Gate Park and slowly showed depressive behavior and even managed to break out of his enclosure, but was recaptured again later. Monarch survived the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, which is why many posters were created picturing him to give courage and hope to the people who suffered from the earthquake. In May 1911, Monarch was euthanized after reaching old age and suffering from arthritis. We also see a red star in the top left corner, which represents sovereignty, a red banner on the bottom which indicates courage, and all this on a white background which stands for purity. California's state flower is the poppy, its state bird is the quail, the bear is California's state animal, and its state tree is the redwood tree. Even though California is not an independent country, its economy ranks among the largest ones in the world. It is not only the state with the highest GDP of all US American states, but also outperforms every other country worldwide except of China, all other US states combined, Japan and Germany. California's economy is larger than the economy of the entire African continent, the entire Australian continent, or almost as large as the economy of all South American countries combined. However, in terms of GDP per capita, California ranks 8th among all US states. The most dominant sectors include finance, business services, government and manufacturing. Much of the economic activity is concentrated in the coastal cities, especially in Los Angeles, which has a relative focus on media, and the San Francisco Bay Area, which predominantly concentrates on technology. Both cities, along with other major ports such as San Diego, also act as significant trade hubs from and to the United States. Furthermore, California's Central Valley is one of the most productive agricultural regions on Earth, growing over half of the country's fruits, vegetables and nuts. We also need to address the world-famous Silicon Valley. The San Francisco Bay Area has the largest concentration of high-tech companies in the United States that employ a total of about 225,000 high-tech workers. Silicon Valley has the highest concentration of high-tech workers of any metropolitan area, with almost 286 out of every 1,000 private sector workers, which means nearly every third worker employed in the private sector is working in high-tech. Thousands of high technology companies are headquartered in Silicon Valley, from Adobe, Apple and Alphabet, all the way to Cisco Systems, HP, Intel, Netflix or Nvidia. Silicon Valley received 46% of all US venture investments in 2012. The tourism industry is another significant industry sector. In 2018, the tourism industry continued its nearly decade-long growth trend, and based on statistics from the California Travel and Tourism Commission, approximately 42 million people arrived in California in 2018, which resulted in a GDP boost of roughly $140 billion. Later in this video there will be an interview with Der Stadtbewohner, Mitbewohner, who originally is from Berlin but moved to the Bay Area a few years ago. And later I will also talk about my personal experiences of working in South San Francisco for 6 months as an IT intern. If you have an idea which country I should cover next, please let me know down in the comments. This video is part of a video series that covers informative facts and the migration procedure of many countries around the globe. I've created dedicated videos for many countries worldwide. You can find the playlist linked in the video description below. But let's return to California. What are the main upsides of moving to California and what needs to be considered? From 2006 to 2016, the state lost a net population of about 1 million people from immigration to other states, yet the population of California continued to grow due to immigration from overseas and high birth rates. In 2018, about 690,000 Californians left their state, whereas 500,000 people moved to California, resulting in a net migration of negative 190,000. California is home to people from all over the globe. That is why nearly 43% of Californian residents speak a language other than English at home, a proportion far higher than in any other state. Today, California is the 13th fastest growing US state and therefore is not growing as fast as it used to grow. But what are the upsides of moving to California? Let us begin with the incredible nature and the fact that California is among the most geographically diverse states. The Sierra Nevada mountain range, the fertile farmlands of the Central Valley, and the arid Mojave Desert are some of the major geographic features of California. It is home to some of the world's most exceptional trees. The coast redwood trees, which are the tallest trees worldwide, the giant sequoia trees, which are the most massive ones, and the bristlecone pine, which are the oldest trees worldwide. In fact, one of the bristlecone pine species is among the longest lived life forms on Earth. The oldest one is more than a whopping 4,800 years old, making it the oldest known individual of all species. About 45% of the state's total surface area is covered by forests, which means that California contains more forest land than any other state except of Alaska. California is also home to Mount Whitney and the Death Valley, both the highest and lowest points in the 48 continuous states. Mount Whitney reaches a height of 4,421 meters, while the Death Valley's Badwater Basin is the point of lowest elevation in North America at 86 meters below sea level. From the mountainous landscapes of the Sierra Nevada mountain range, including the world-famous Yosemite National Park, to beaches at the Pacific, to the Muir Woods National Park, providing a home to the coastal redwood trees, all the way to the desert-like landscapes of the Coachella Valley, California has an incredible variety of nature to offer. And as diverse California's nature is, as diverse is its climate. Although most of the state has a Mediterranean climate, similar to the climate in Italy or South Africa, California also hosts a large number of other climate zones, ranging from polar in the mountain regions of California up to subtropical. The cool California current often creates summer fog near the coast, especially in San Francisco, which is also known as the Fog City. Further inland, the climate gets more continental with colder winters and warmer summers, and northern parts of the state receive more rain than the south. The high mountains, including the Sierra Nevada, have an alpine climate with snow in winter and mild to moderate heat in summer, while the Death Valley is considered the hottest location in the world. The highest temperature in the world, which was at 56.7 degrees Celsius, was recorded there in 1913. The lowest temperature in California was at negative 43 degrees Celsius in 1937. Apart from nature and climate, the economy is another upside of moving to California. If California was an independent state, it would rank 5th worldwide among the largest economies. We already talked about the economy of California, and to sum it all up, there are many opportunities for you to set up a new business and benefit from the large Californian and US American market. People also mention the great variety of cuisines and restaurants throughout California an upside. Let us take a closer look at the culture of the Golden State. The culture of California has its modern roots in the culture of the United States, but also many Hispanic, Californio and Mexican influences. As a border and coastal state, Californian culture has been greatly influenced by several large immigrant populations, especially those from Latin America and Asia, but also Southern Europe. In the early 20th century, many Americans saw the Golden State as an ideal resort destination, sunny and dry all year round, with easy access to the ocean and mountains. Mass media and entertainment play an important role in the Californian culture, since Los Angeles is home to the US film industry's big 5 major film studios, which include Columbia, Disney, Paramount, Universal and Warner Brothers, whereas the San Francisco Bay Area is home to 3 of the big 5 technology companies, namely Apple, Facebook and Google. Let us also quickly cover the cost of living in California. If you live off $3,000 a month in Denver, Colorado, you'll need about $3,630 in Los Angeles for the same quality of life. This means that the cost of living in Los Angeles is about 21% higher than the cost of living in Denver. But living costs strongly depend on the specific area you live in. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area, more precisely in Menlo Park for 6 months, and sadly had to leave because of this. I worked as an IT intern at Genentech in South San Francisco, which truly was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. What immediately surprised me was the Californian climate, which strongly reminded me of the Italian one. Always sunny, warm weather and breathtaking sunsets increase the quality of life. Another upside was the high density of international IT companies in this region. The fact that there are so many IT firms in Silicon Valley not only is motivating but also provides many opportunities in one's career. The diversity of different cuisines, people, activities and nature was also unique. Driving is also much more fun in the US than in Switzerland, mainly due to the wide highways. However, some disadvantages are that there are very few sidewalks and public transportation is terribly run down. Another drawback is the fact that from Switzerland one can visit many European countries without having to travel thousands of kilometers, while from California you have Mexico and Canada relatively close by, but to travel to other countries you'll need to cover a very long distance. In spite of all these previously mentioned upsides, there are also some drawbacks that you'll need to consider when moving to California. Let us begin with the fact that California has the highest state income tax rate at 13.3%. Compare that with Nevada's, Texas or Florida's 0% state income tax rate. California is also famous for its overregulation, huge traffic jams and crazy hot and dry summers. Another downside is the high cost of living. Especially in Silicon Valley, prices have skyrocketed during the last decades. In the Bay Area, the number of residents planning to leave within the next several years is 46%. As part of the Ring of Fire, California is subject to earthquakes, tsunamis, floods, droughts, wildfires, the strong Santa Ana winds fueling the wildfires, landslides, and California also has several volcanoes. Some of them are still active. It has many earthquakes due to several faults running through the state, the largest being the San Andreas Fault. About 37,000 earthquakes are recorded each year, but most of them are too small to be felt. 3,000 people died in the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and 63 people died in the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake. But to put things into perspective, the probability for you to be significantly impacted by earthquakes or wildfires is relatively low. Let's continue with the experiences of a German who moved to the Bay Area. When did you move to California and which city did you move to? I moved with my wife from Germany to Massachusetts in 2008 because of her studies, and in 2010 from Massachusetts to California, more precisely to the San Francisco Bay Area. We lived there for a total of 10 years. The first year we lived in San Bruno because my wife flew a lot for work and the airport is relatively close by. Then we moved to Pacifica and had a nice view on the Pacific Ocean. In 2013 we moved to Fremont where we lived until mid-2020. Why California and not another state? We have lived on the East Coast for 2 years before and we really enjoyed living in the US, but we weren't so enthusiastic about Massachusetts as a state because the weather there is very extreme and it also is very densely populated, about the same as in Germany. However, infrastructure is not as good. When we heard that my wife's employer was looking for employees on the West Coast, she applied for a job, so that's why we moved to the West Coast. So to sum it up, we wanted to take the opportunity to find out what life on the West Coast is like, and since we already were living in the US, we took the opportunity. What do you enjoy most about your life in California? First of all, the climate is a big upside. California has around 1,000 to 1,300 hours of sunshine more per year than Germany. At least in the coastal regions, it is never too cold and rarely too hot, and there are no mosquitoes. People are also very pleasant and there is a lot of optimism. Even people that are not doing as good as the average German person, they are still friendly and enjoying life. I've never heard of managers yelling at their employees. It's similar in school, where bullying is tackled proactively. Teachers who verbally abuse students are kicked out immediately. Furthermore, you have a lot of space and a lot of nature available. Those who want to ski can go to Tahoe, there are many beaches available, and Yosemite is also not far away. Those who like to go camping will find a lot of nature and space here. For automobile and motorcycle enthusiasts, the state offers significantly more options than Europe. What do you miss about Germany? California does not have such distinct seasons as in Europe, but to be honest, I never missed that. The distance to friends and relatives may also be a drawback, since one is 9 hours behind or an expensive 11-hour flight away. The people in California are very friendly and pleasant to deal with, but also somewhat hard to form deep relationships with. After 10 years in California, my only good friends were other Europeans. If you are into culture and have previously lived in a larger German-speaking city, you may experience California as a step backwards. Of course, there is culture here too, but subjectively I would say less. What are the Californians like? As already mentioned, the Californians are very optimistic, polite, respectful, and very pleasant to deal with on a daily basis. Conversations with teachers or work colleagues are very positive. Going to a party you don't know anyone is no problem in California. You are immediately involved, but you can't expect in-depth conversation about personal problems either. Most people in California moved there at some point, and many move away suddenly. It is a society that is characterized by flexibility. What advice would you give people who are interested in moving to California? The salaries in California are significantly higher than in Germany and Austria, but the prices are correspondingly higher as well. Don't expect to live in a huge Californian mansion just because you make $200,000 a year. I also strongly recommend taking into account the travel time to work in rush hour and the quality of the assigned schools. Housing and childcare are the two largest liability in the budget. I would also be prepared for the fact that you can do a lot in your free time, but you have to deal with a certain degree of social isolation. A car is essential, everything is faster in California, jobs, the housing market, people moving here and there. I think one should approach the new environment openly and just take it as it is. And this probably also applies to moving to other locations. What a great report! If you are a German speaker, make sure to check out the YouTube channel Der Stadtbewohner, linked in the description below. But what needs to be done in order to move to California? Since California is part of the USA, the regulations of moving to the USA apply. I've uploaded a video about moving to the USA a few months ago, where I talked about the rules and regulations of moving to the US.